Hi, Mr. Awadala. My name is Danielle Robertson. I'm going to be presenting to you the parts of the human skull. And for clarification, I'm going to be using these bright colored markers to show you the structure of the skeleton that I am pointing out to you so that you can see them better. And here's my list of 33 parts of the skull that I'm going to be attempting to try to name for you today. Alright, hopefully I'll get this right and won't mess it up. Thanks for listening and don't laugh. Okay, the first bone that I'm going to start out with is the frontal bone. This is the frontal bone of the skeleton. I'm going to color that in just a little bit so you can get a clear detail of exactly what I'm naming the frontal bone. So this is the frontal bone here of the skeleton. Next, I'm going to be naming for you the coronal suture of the skeleton. The coronal suture of the skeleton starts here and go across the top of the skull. So this is the coronal suture line here. This is the coronal suture line. Next, I'm going to be naming for you the sagittal suture line. Now this here is the sagittal suture line, and I'm going to turn it around just for a better view for you. The sagittal suture line starts here from the coronal suture line, and the sagittal suture line goes all the way to here. And this sagittal suture line separates the parietal bones into right and left portions. Again, this sagittal suture line separates the skull into a right parietal bone, which is located here. This is the right parietal bone. And the left parietal bone. Next, I'm going to show you the squamosous suture. Now that suture is located here. The squamosous suture. This is the squamosous suture on the right, and this is the squamosous suture here on the left. And this squamosous suture line separates the parietal bone from the temporal bone. So that's the significance here. It separates the parietal bone from the temporal bone. The temporal bone is located on the left and right side of the skull. This is the temporal bone here. This is the right temporal bone. And this is the left temporal bone located here. Next, I'm going to flip the skull over and show you the lambdoidal suture that's located on the back. So this is the lambdoidal suture here, and it forms a Y, rightfully so. That's the meaning of it, Y. And this is the lambdoidal suture here that's coming off of the sagittal suture. So here's the lambdoidal suture here. And if I turn around for you, you can see the Y here as I trace it. It's the lambdoidal suture. So next, I'm going to show you the occipital bone. So the occipital bone is located here in the back of the skull. This is the occipital. This is the occipital bone. Next, I'm going to flip over and show you the bones of the face. Now, the first bone I'm going to show you is the labella, which will be located right here, like right between the eyebrows, the glabella bone, located right here. And I'm going to slide over from that just a bit to show you the supraorbital foramen. The supraorbital foramen is located here, and this is the left supraorbital foramen, and this is the right supraorbital foramen. Now we're going to drop down from that slightly, and I'm going to show you the nasal bone. So this here is the nasal bone located here. It's the nasal bone. Then we're going to drop down from that, and I'm going to show you the lacrimal bone. The lacrimal bone is in this region as well. So this is the lacrimal bone that I'm outlining for you here in black. This is the lacrimal bone right here. The lacrimal bone. And if you look closely inside, here is the lacrimal foramen. It is this slit that is right here that I'm coloring green. That's the lacrimal foramen. And the lacrimal bone is just underneath that. Next, I would like to show you, which is kind of hard to see as well, is the ethmoid bone. The ethmoid bone is located in here. Okay? The ethmoid bone is located in there as well. Next, I would like to show you the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. Now this is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. It's kind of hard to see, but this is the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. Okay? The perpendicular plate is located in here of the ethmoid bone. Next, we're going to slide down, and I'm going to show you the maxilla bone. And the teeth are located here as well, but the bones give it structure. So this is the maxilla bone located here. And it's the left maxilla and the right maxilla, if you would. But this is the maxilla bone here. I would also like to point out to you the infraorbital foramen. The infraorbital foramen is located just below the lacrimal bone, but it is superior to the maxilla bone. Again, the infraorbital foramen is superior to the maxilla bone, but inferior to the lacrimal bone. Next, I'm going to drop down and show you the mandible. Now, this is the mandible here. This is the mandible of the skeleton here. And this is the mantle foramen. This indentation here, the mantle foramen, is located here. Mantle foramen there. And this is the mandible here. This bone here is the mandible. Okay? Next, I'm going to show you the zygomatic bone. Now, the zygomatic bone is located here. This is the zygomatic bone on the left and the zygomatic bone on the right. The zygomatic bone, which gives rise to the zygomatic arch, which is located here. The arch of the bone. Next, we're going to talk about, and I'm going to flip him over this way just to show you the conochord process. The conochord process is like the crown, as noted in the video that I watched. The conochord process is right here. It's the conochord process here. Next, I'm going to show you the ramus of that. So this is the ramus here. This is the ramus right here. This is the ramus. Next, I'm going to show you the mandibular condyle, which is this round structure right here of the skull. So this part right here will be the mandibular condyle right here. Hopefully you can see that, but this is the mandibular condyle And this indention, as I flip it over to show you better, is the fossa. So it fits like a puzzle piece when you close it back. It fits in there just like it should to allow the mandible to open and close as it should. Again, this is the cricoid process here. This is the mandibular condyle here. And this is the fossa, located here. And this is the ramus again. Next, I'm going to flip over the skull, and I'm going to show you the palatine, which is located here. This is the palatine bone, located here. Next, I would like to show you the vomer bone. This is the vomer bone here. This is going to be depicted as the vomer bone. Okay, this is the vomer bone, and on either side of the vomer bone is a sphenoid bone. These are the sphenoid bone, and I'm going to color it in green just so you can get a better look at it. The sphenoid bone is located here. And while we're here, I'm going to flip over to the side just so you can get a better view. This here, get a darker color. This here is a styloid process. Oh, it's not showing up for me. But this is the styloid process, and this is the mastoid process. So we have the styloid and the mastoid process located here. The styloid and mastoid process located here. This big hole located here is the foramen magnum. This is the hole in the skull. The foramen magnum is located here. I'm outlining it in black here. Foramen magnum is located here. Next, I want to show you the occipital condyles. These are the occipital condyles here. Just wanted to show you that. Next, I'm going to take off the top of the skull to give you a look inside. Now, inside we have the crista galli. Now, the crista galli is also known as the rooster's comb. The crista galli is also known as the rooster's comb, and rightfully so, because that's how it looks. So, this is the crista galli right here. And the cribriform plate, which is, you can't really see it, it's good, but the cribriform plate is here. This is the cribriform plate located here. Let me see if I can't get a darker color. This is the cribriform plate, and hopefully you'll see some of the indentions start to show up in this model here, as you can see, as I use the black one. This is the cribriform plate, and it actually helps it show up a little better. But this is the cribriform plate here. And again, this is the crista galli, also known as the rooster's comb, that is located here. Next, I would like to talk with you about the sella turcica. Now, the sella turcica sits right here. This shape almost looks like a butterfly to me. That's how I remember it. But this is the sella turcica right in here that I'm painting for you red. Next, I would like to show to you the lesser sphenoid wing. The lesser wing of the sphenoid. This right here is the lesser wing of the sphenoid that I'm coloring green for you right here. And this is the greater wing of the sphenoid here. This is the greater wing. The greater wing is located here of the sphenoid, and this is the lesser wing of the sphenoid. I think I've named everything for you. I hope that I have, and some. And I hope that you can understand everything that I'm saying as far as this lab report goes. And luckily I haven't missed anything. Thank you, and see you on next lab report. Bye.